Well, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the LFC Transfer Room. We got myself, Jack, Charlie, Samuel, and Jared for a casual Monday morning discussion. Charlie, Mbappe in the title. The rumors are back after some reports. How are you feeling today?
Yeah, man. I mean, I'm always on the Mbappe train. I've been on the Mbappe train for like about a million years now, it seems like. But I hoping and praying that maybe these ones are true. But you never know. It seems like he might be off to Real Madrid. But I've got faith in LeBron James.
Jared, the faith in LeBron. How strong is it with you?
My faith in LeBron is always strong. I love LBJ, but no, I think obviously we all always take it with a grain of salt, but I don't think it's as impossible as some people make it seem. I know he's always wanted to play for Madrid, of course, but we have one of the best managers in the world, and he is so young that even if he signed for 5 or 7 years, we could sell him on for a massive fee down the road. So it's not impossible.
If we sign Mbappe, he's not being sold on. He's gonna retire a Liverpool player.
Well, that's the dream.
Yeah, Samuel with us as well. He'll be back in a second. But Mbappe, Madrid ruined the day. I from Black Hammer. Look, it's tough, to expect much in terms of Mbappe, but I think it's not impossible. I think the question that you have to ask is, should Liverpool be trying to make the move at the expense of other players? How important is signing a player like Mbappe for you, Charlie, as opposed to maybe a more of a project player like a Doku?
Yeah, well, I mean, is Mbappe not a project player? I mean, he's 22. He could improve even more for all we know. Obviously, he is sort of he's like one of I guess final stage, but not exactly final stage. But I just confused myself and everybody there. But yeah, so I think it makes sense financially. I think it makes sense from FSG. I think it makes sense from Jurgen Klopp, especially with our Asian players too. I think it makes sense there. Our affiliation to Nike, LeBron James, even though obviously it's not a massive connection, but at the end of the day, he owns 2%. And how many times has he been pictured with Mbappe in the past 3 years? It's while LeBron's wearing all this Liverpool merch. I know obviously we all know that it's unlikely, but I think there's always a bit of hope in there. Especially my hope got times 10 when I realised we were signing with Nike. Obviously, we're Nike's new poster child, team. Mbappe is probably going to be their poster child for decades to come. Yeah. So, and you probably know more about this. Used to know more about this than I do, but I'm pretty sure sponsors in the likes of NFL and NBA pay part of wages and stuff, or at least fees.
I know they pay players a lot of money.
Yeah,
I'm sure some dodgy stuff happens to avoid some salary cap issues.
Yeah, so I mean, why can't Nike do that with us? It benefits them, it benefits us, and at the end of the day as well. How much is Mbappe on? I think it's 300 and close to 400k, isn't it? Or the max we'd probably give him is 250k. But again, you've got to look at our bonus structure is a big thing as well. Would he be willing to go down to 250k and get crazy bonuses if he scores or wins the Champions League, stuff like that? I think it's possible personally, and I think FSG would be very, very naive not to at least inquire about him.
I agree. As usual, it's all rumors. We can't say for sure. We're not getting Mbappe saying, Klopp was ringing me up last week talking through the options. It always is going to be pretty speculative. But I've lost the actual source itself. But this morning, news coming out that Mbappe's a bit possible.
Yeah, it was Alexis Bernard from Le Temps Sport, not the most reliable, and it was for an article a year ago, but for some reason he retweeted it. Yeah. So yeah.
I'm going to bring Sam into the stream now. Samuel, Mbappe, obviously it's very tough, but the idea of Mbappe in a Liverpool shirt, what does that
mean? Yeah, obviously, I think no Liverpool fan would even say that it's not exciting to hear. If it happens, then, all hell will break loose and it will be a very, very good signing. But I can't see it happening. I think maybe we're just being used for clicks. But yeah, Mbappe would be the dream, and yeah, man, literally that's all I can say, to be honest.
Yeah, we are kind of being used for clicks nowadays, aren't we? We're not really making a ton of moves. And obviously there was news that Madrid are very interested in Mbappe. They want to sign him this summer. So again, Mbappe, it's tough to say things because it's such a rumor-heavy thing. But should we be targeting him this summer for a large transfer fee, or should we try and wait it out, maybe try and get him on a free next summer? Is that worth the risk? Samuel, I'll toss it to you first.
I think the way Mbappe is moving right now is like he wants to leave this summer. So if he wants to leave this summer and we really want him, then I think pay whatever it costs. I don't think he would cost as much as we think. I think maybe 100 million, maybe 120. I think that's quite decent for a player of his standards. I think the way he's moving, obviously with Messi coming in, and I think there's been like a lot of reports of him wanting to leave. I think he's gonna leave this summer, and if he does, I do think, yeah, if you really want him, then just submit a bid and just see what happens. And yeah.
I good point here. If it reportedly, if Case was worth 86 million, but is Mbappe with a year left on his deal really worth 120 million, 100 million plus? It's a tough one.
It is.
Charlie,
Yeah, go on, yeah.
I'll toss it to you. This summer, next summer for Mbappe, how should we be targeting him if we're going to target him?
I think if we're a serious club, we target him this season. And I think that's the same for everybody. Will that happen? Probably not. FSG are going to fork out, as Samuel said there, 120 million. It's very unlikely. Would it be worth it? 100%. You'd get tens, possibly even hundreds of millions if he come over. I mean, just from like the shirt sales, even like as I said before with Nike and stuff. So it's you're gonna have so many people pushing a move to it. Obviously, we've had the whole him and Klopp pass a note when he was at Anfield, you know. But I think if we're a serious club, we go after him this season, because if not, then I think he goes to Real Madrid for free transfer next season. But again, I think if we come in this season, offer him what he wants, then I think we should do it this season. But I'm not FSG, am I?
Jared, this summer, next summer, what is the and real quick, Tantra, we will never stop dreaming until Mbappe signs a new contract at PSG or signs for Madrid. We're gonna believe, Jared. What would your, if you were running things for Liverpool, how would you try and target Mbappe?
Just to back to your first point, I think that we should believe we can make these signings, because we are one of the best clubs in Europe, one of the biggest clubs in Europe. We've had the success and the track record over the last few years to prove that. We have probably the top 2 managers in the world, one of them. So I don't think it's like that unrealistic to at least be like inquiring about these types of players. He's a generational talent. I do think Messi is the big X factor here, because someone like CR7 probably wouldn't want to stay and play with a Messi, right? Because CR7 would want the spotlight, want to be the main man. Mbappe is still very young, so he might view this as like an incredible once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Spend 1 year playing with Messi, go for that UCL title, and then move on afterwards. Or maybe he's like, no, I don't want to be overshadowed by both Neymar and Messi now. So I think it really depends on Mbappe. And if we do have contact with him and his father and this kind of open line of communication, I think that they should figure out what he's thinking, because, you know, if you can save hundreds of millions in a transfer fee and put that towards his wages, you know, that could make a massive difference. So I think it would be obviously better to wait if we can, but it's a tough one.
Yeah, I just really quickly, I just want to bring this up. Obviously, that were the report coming out from reliable outlets that Mbappe turned down the exact same contract that Neymar had offered him. So if it was about the money, then as DJ says there, then he probably would. But I do think, obviously, you've got to remember nowadays as well, there's so much money in football. Like, you play a year of football, you're probably sorted for the rest of your life, especially at a level Mbappe's playing at. So will like, I know it sounds like crazy, but will a few million that he's going to miss out at another club really be that much? Like, I'm not too sure, but again, it's a good point with the whole money situation. I don't think he's playing for money. I do think he wants to be that star player. Will he come in and be our star player? I don't know. I think Klopp would have to drop Firmino to make that happen. And we know what Klopp is like with his loyalty to players.
So this is a good point. Mbappe doesn't want to be a star player. I think he does probably. I mean, we don't know Kylian personally. But, I mean, anyone who's that good that young, I'd have an ego problem if I knew I was one of the best in the world as a teenager. But with Salah's new contract, with Van Dijk signing a new contract, doesn't Mbappe even come in and be that star guy that he wants to be?
I think so. Yeah, I mean, I think he comes in and is probably the starting striker. Like, again, as much as we all love Firmino, can you really justify playing him ahead of Mbappe? I think anyone who says yes is very deluded. And but again, it's a hard one, isn't it? Because he's not going to displace Salah no matter how good he is. I don't think anybody could displace Salah in this team.
No.
So it's either up front or nowhere. Or if Salah wants to go up front, personally, I think he's always better on the right. But obviously, we know Salah can play there, so it's it would be a happy problem to have if we did have it, to say the least.
So we can move on slightly, kind of the same topic. Salah reportedly close to a new contract. Henderson closer. Samuel, I think the last time you were on was about when the news came out that Henderson wasn't going to sign a new contract. So now we've got, maybe he might actually sign a contract. About a month on from that, good idea in your eyes to give him a year, I think, with the option of another one beyond that. That could call in your eyes.
Yeah, I think if I remember correctly, I think I did say that we should do something like that, as in like just a contract that just kind of like protects both sides. So obviously 3 years, that's quite reasonable. I think he's 31, so 3, that's until he's 34. And obviously, depending on I think his injuries and whether or not he has a starting place, then obviously he renews. But yeah, I think that's completely cool. I think obviously it's come out that obviously that he's gonna be happy with it. So yeah, man, I think the move makes sense. And obviously I do feel that obviously he will slowly start to have a lesser role in the team. So I think probably similar to James Milner. So yeah, man, I just think I think it's a good news. Obviously we didn't want just too much controversy just having of it. So yeah, it's quite good, man. Quite happy for me.
Yeah, Charlie, I mean, it seems pretty no-brainer. It's 3 years and then incentive based for a 4th year. Just seems like a good move all around now.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Matty said to us this morning that it was Salah who sort of helped push it. He said he wasn't signing a contract if Henderson doesn't. Well, that's what Matty said. I don't know where he's got that from, but if that's true, I think it shows the team spirit, and obviously Henderson's a massive part of that. So we don't want to go breaking that team spirit. Again, another issue was when the whole situation come out was that he didn't want to just be a cheerleader. Like, he didn't want to be a leader in the dressing room. I think he does have to accept that it's going to take a lesser part. And I think this season's going to be sort of not the downfall of him, but where he's starting to be faded out. Obviously, we've got Fabinho. If Naby Keita's up to, like, again, Harvey Elliott too. Obviously, Hendo's that leader, so I think this season's going to be really crucial for him. Personally, I would have just let his 2 years run down, if I'm being honest. I think that takes him to 2023 it would have. That's this season, next season, 33 by then. Like, as much as I love Jordan Henderson, I think he's probably one of the best captains Liverpool have ever had. It was a lose-lose for FSG and Michael Edwards. If you let him go on a free, fans are going to kick off. If you don't sign him, then players are going to start like questioning stuff. And if you do sign him, you need to give him more money. And at the end of the day, he's getting more injury prone. He's not going to be as crucial as he was. So I think, do had the best option. It keeps Henderson happy. It keeps the players happy. It keeps fans happy. Maybe it doesn't keep their bank happy, but it's I think it's a good decision to do it.
I think Charlie brings up a good point there that he will be phased out. Samuel did the same thing as well. So Jared, next season, Henderson over under 30 league appearances in the Premier League.
30. Oof. I'd say slightly under. I mean, maybe right on the dot there, like right around 30. I think is a good estimate. I do think people underestimate how important of a player he is on the pitch, not just as a leader, as a vocal person in the dressing room, but just the little bits and bobs that he does, like connecting play from the back line to the attack and the rest of the midfield, kind of directing traffic, things like that. And he's plays so hard. His work rates are incredible, obviously. So I think he'll be fine this year, and I think he'll have a bit of a resurgent year, especially if we have that depth in midfield and other injuries are avoided, whether it's with him or with Keita or obviously Fabinho and Thiago and players of that nature. So I think I think he'll actually be okay this year as long as he doesn't have to play week in, week out every single match, which at this current moment doesn't look like he'll have to. But yeah, I think the contract, I don't know, maybe realistically the third year might be what he's earned as like our emotional centerpiece, right, of Liverpool for the past however many years. And we'll see if that third year, if he really starts to decline by then. But he's a great professional. He takes care of his body. And you look at someone like Milner, how effective he still is even at his age. I think Hendo could still be at least a contributor by 34, 35. But we'll have to see.
So in terms of contracts, I'm looking at players whose contracts expired recently. We've signed Fabinho, Trent Alexander-Arnold, Virgil van Dijk, Alisson, Henderson, and Salah close. The Manes, the Firminos, are they up now for contract extensions? It's a tough one. It's really hard because you don't want to let them walk for free. Samuel, for guys like that who are nearing the ends of their prime, where are you on renewing some of the other key players of this team?
I feel like it's tough because I said at the start that I think only Salah should get the contract, that should get his thing. But obviously, you can't just. I think Mane and Firmino's ends in 2023, and you can't just let them run it down. I feel like maybe giving them a contract and then maybe having plans to maybe sending them on, and maybe in a year's time or so. I feel like Mane deserves one more so than Firmino. I think Firmino's decline has been probably since 2018-19. So I feel like Mane probably deserves a contract. Also, I think he only declined or had a bad season last season. So I do think give Mane the contract, but I wouldn't. Because I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but I do feel like with Mane, he will decline a lot faster than Salah. I feel like with Salah, I can't see him declining until probably 34, 33. So I feel like, but with Mane, I feel like his game, the way he plays, I feel like you can't maintain that same pace, agility, etc. for quite a while. So I do feel like give Mane the contract, and I don't know. I feel like the club will have plans to sell him. I do feel that, but yeah, that's just my opinion. Yeah.
Yeah, Naby Keita, Mane, and Firmino. And someone said Jack sent them to your house too. I did not consent to this, and that wasn't me that left the message in the YouTube chat. But Mane, Firmino, Keita, all guys who have contracts expire in 2 years. It's a tough one. Charlie, Jared, where are you guys at on extending some of the other parts of this team?
Yeah, I think what DJ says here is them three players really depends on performances this year, especially Firmino and Keita. Obviously, both of... Well, Firmino's been sort of declining since 2017-18, if we're all being honest. He still offers what he does. I see you can disagree with me. I'll let you have your point after this, Jack. But
fans are back. He's back.
But yeah, I think the main players have been nailed down, honestly. Obviously, if the reports of Salah signing one to be true, I think the most important players to get down were Virgil, Alisson, Fabinho, and Salah. And Trent and Robertson, I think, have deserved new contracts for a while now. So I think getting them down, that's the spine of our team for at least the next, like, Bar and Salah, like maybe Salah as well, like the next 3-4 years. So it's a good move by the club. But I think the rest are honestly going to depend on how they perform, which again, because the team is so close, will that cause a rift between everyone? Is everyone expecting contracts now? Which obviously, realistically, we can't do. But it might be a case of sign them to contracts and then sell them in a few years, because I think a lot of players are starting to come to the end. Maybe I think obviously there's been talks of Jeremy Doku replacing Sadio Mane. Obviously, goal scoring wise, not the best, but ability wise, could be one of the best players in the world if he works with a top class coach. You've got so many young, talented strikers coming through the ranks now: Erling Haaland, Dusan Vlahovic, even more, that we can go out and spend 50 million on and get them, like, instead of relying on Firmino to perform in front of fans. So it's a tough one. I think next year is going to be huge. Honestly, I think it's a really decade defining season, the next transfer window.
It is very difficult because you have a manager like Klopp who just loves the players, has a great relationship with all of them, but then these business decisions have to come from above him, and obviously it's tough when the money comes in and gets involved. Jared, kind of round out the contract discussions. Your take, anything different in terms of just see how they do this season and then assess?
Yeah. I'll preface this by saying Firmino is my favorite player in the world. I absolutely love him. So I think people sometimes miss the fact that he is a false nine. He plays as a false nine, which means he drops into the midfield and is way more involved in the build-up play than like a typical target man or like a hold-up striker. Like, he's very different. And I think he's very unique in his work rates, his ability to press, and that's why he fits so well into Klopp's system. So I view his goal output more as like a winger, right? Like, if a winger got 10 plus goals in a season, you'd be pretty satisfied with that. But obviously, like in terms of a Kane or a Lukaku, you're looking for 20, 25 goals a season for it to be successful. So we get more of our goals from the wings the last few seasons, at least, like obviously Salah and Mane when he's in form. And then our fullbacks are allowed to bomb forward. So I think Firmino's role is very unique. I think it would be really hard to replace him. There's not a ton of players that do what he does, and that's why Klopp loves him. Obviously, if we can get an Mbappe, some like a generational talent, then we make changes to make that work. But I would, if I had to choose between the front three, I would sell Mane at this point. What really stuck out to me, and maybe I'm reading too much into this, was the Manchester United match at the end of last season where we won. I think it was 4-2. And Klopp went to hug Mane, and Mane, brushed him aside and was really upset, even though it was like arguably the most massive win of our season.
Yeah.
On our way to clinching third place. So that really rubbed me the wrong way, because I think he didn't start that game, and then he came in off the bench in like the 70th minute or something. But to be that upset after the club secures such a massive 3 points, to me that really rubbed me the wrong way. That mixed with his a bit of a decline in form, of course, last year, or not a bit, a big decline in form. But I still think he's a great player. I think he'll bounce back this year, as will everyone. But if I had to choose, I think it would be Mane I'd let go.
I think that like aggression though is a Mane thing. We've seen it before. Obviously, the Burnley situation a couple of seasons ago, where he had an argument with Salah while coming off the pitch. Like, he seems like a very, very passionate player, which isn't a bad thing. And obviously, since he's joined, he was really the first person to embody the Klopp playing style, and he's pretty much held his form up throughout the whole year, barring last year. Whereas, obviously Firmino he's irreplaceable, but I think we can adapt around him. If you look at how Harry Kane plays, he drops deep, he creates. Like, there's that's the style that people are going to now. Dusan Vlahovic does the same as well. I'm never going to be able to say his name.
I was going to say, yeah. if he signs, we're going to have to do some research on how to pronounce his
Yeah.
name.
But yeah, so it's like, is he? I think we could replace him with a better new style striker who gets goals but also drops deep. So I'd have to disagree with Jared there, but I see where he's coming from. I think Mane is more crucial to the team, but I think both of them are replaceable. Honestly, I don't think Salah's replaceable.
Yeah, and like I said, I'm biased for Firmino. I just love him and his play style and like his flair. But obviously, if we sold Mane, we would have to replace him with a lot more firepower up front. I don't mean just like letting him go or just selling and not buying. But yeah, take your point, of course.
Yeah, me personally, I go with Jared. Like, I do feel like Firmino's skill set in terms, and I not even in terms of like of just him and Mane. I think even him, Firmino, Salah, and Mane. I think in terms of skill set, he's the most irreplaceable. I feel like the way he plays, even when we see Jota playing in his role, I do feel like sometimes Jota he tries to obviously play the false nine, obviously, but I feel like he doesn't really do it as effectively, and I do feel like we do suffer in our build-up play just a little bit in terms of when we're trying to build up and try to goal. So I do feel like Firmino, like even though he's declining, I feel like if you just keep him around squad player, like not even as a starter, because I do feel like he is like I feel like he definitely like ran his race, but I do feel like he's someone he'll probably be happy to be a squad player. I think with Mane, he wants to be a starter. Like he wants to start every single game. So I do feel like in terms of like let someone go, I do feel like with Mane it'll make more sense because obviously he wants to be a starter. He won't want to say stay on the bench. I do feel like with Firmino, he's happy to play wherever you play him. He's got a good skill set, and also I just feel like obviously that is my Firmino bias speaking as well. Obviously, I do love him as well, but I do. That's just my opinion. But yeah.
Yeah, Samuel, you mentioned earlier that Mane will decline a bit faster because of the reliance on his physicality. I think that's why Firmino, I don't think his game relies on it's his positioning, it's his work rate. That's the kind of thing that's going to live for the next.
Yeah, and years. Even just like Firmino, when you look at Thomas Muller, he's still playing at the very highest level. Like plays like that, I do feel like they can go for much longer because of the way they play. And obviously, when you look at someone like Thomas Muller, he's not as effective as he was back in the day. But obviously, Bayern Munich, they still play him for a lot of the games. Germany still use him. So I do feel like with plays like that, it's not more so their ball ability. I just feel like there's just like you said, their positioning, their smartness, and that's just why I would say just to keep Firmino around. But
Thomas Muller is a great point you make, Samuel, because he's 31, 2 years older than Firmino. He's kind of made a resurgence. And you think about Firmino, Mane, a guy who dips in form towards the late end of their 20s. Can they come back? Well, Muller, he kind of had that dip for Bayern Munich, and he's obviously come back with a big last 2 seasons. So I think, in my opinion, that means that Firmino, it's his season. He's back. Fans are back. Last thing I want to add for new contracts is my boy, Naby Keita. Obviously played in the Norwich match this weekend. Had a very good performance. So he has the contract situation I think needs to be resolved eventually. But in your guys' estimates, where does Naby Keita rank in the midfield rankings? And how much, when fit, how much will he appear this season?
I think if he's fit, he's 4th choice behind Fabinho, Thiago, and Henderson. But again, if he's fully fit and firing, I expect him to start over Henderson. But that 4th choice is just going off like what Henderson has done for the team. But if we see the best Naby Keita that we have seen against like when he bossed against Bournemouth, even a Chelsea game, I think he's probably 3rd. But if we're being realistic, I think he's 4th over Henderson, Fabinho, Thiago.
Yeah, I agree. I think Keita, if he plays, because I think when Thiago joined, I always said that Keita, Fab, and Thiago, that'll be like my dream midfield net. So obviously, I do feel obviously just to be a bit cautious, fourth choice. Obviously, if Henderson, obviously he gets like a few injuries, so I do feel like, and obviously if Keita does bring on this form that we know that he can show, then I feel like he can start probably every game. But it just depends on his fitness, depends on maybe Henderson on his fitness. So yeah, I would say that too. Yeah.
Yeah. So Jared, is he third choice midfielder? Is he fourth choice? Where is Keita in your midfield?
As of now, definitely fourth. He hasn't proven himself, to anywhere near to the amount that Jordan Henderson has, of course. And again, I think judging individual performances from last season is very unfair, because the injuries to Van Dijk and Matip and Joe Gomez, that affects everyone on the field. That affects our wingers, like that affects distribution on the pitch. So I think if Henderson, unless he's like has this crazy injury riddled season where it's like, oh wow, his body's really falling apart, I do think he's going to be kind of back to 2019, 2020 levels, in which he played, I think, like most every game in the Premier League and had a fantastic year, obviously when we won the league. So Keita, I would say, is fourth. It also depends what we want from the midfield, right? Thiago is obviously a really creative player who's an incredible passer of the ball. Fabinho too, great distribution. Harvey Elliott provides a ton of creativity, the way he attacks defenders and is kind of fearless in that regard. That's different maybe than what a Henderson provides. Naby Keita kind of has both, right? He's good work rates, he's a good defender, but he's also very creative, a good dribbler. That rotation will depend on what Klopp's looking for, I think, out of each match. And then there's going to be a ton of rotation, right? Because there's the cup matches, obviously Champions League. I think it won't be as cut and dry as these are the top three every week, because there will be little injuries as well. And but hopefully Keita's in that rotation heavily and getting a lot of minutes.
Last thing on Keita, second best midfielder, but fitness makes him fourth. Do we agree?
I don't know. I'd say Thiago for being over him.
If we're talking, okay, I feel like I'll put Fino to a side for. I feel like if we're talking for the LCM and RCM roles,
yeah,
I think he's top two with Thiago. I think because Fabinho's obviously, I think he's a CDM, so he starts. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like the point makes sense, but obviously he's like me on ability wise. I think he's second behind Thiago. But obviously, because he's not a CDM, I'll put him third based on ability wise. But yeah.
I get what you're saying there. I'm really hoping. Go ahead, Jared.
I was just going to say, I think Fabinho, it starts over any midfielder in our squad. He's so immense. As you said, Sam, like he's as a six or CDM, I don't know if there's a better six in the world besides Conte, but Conte doesn't exactly play there all the time. Sometimes he's more of an 8, and then maybe Fernandinho, but obviously he's a lot older now and kind of, I don't know who I would play over.
Fabinho's the best Brazilian defensive mid in the Premier League.
At this point,
they call Fernandinho Dino. That seems a bit disgraceful, if you ask me.
I think at this point he's way more effective than Fernandinho, but he's like irreplaceable to me.
Last thing on stream, Ben Davies reportedly close to a loan move to Sheffield United. Good, bad. How do we feel? Ben Davies he doesn't divide opinion. He just exists. He exists that opinion.
I can't lie. I was speaking to a friend the other day, and obviously they were saying why would you buy him, and obviously I do get that point of like, why would you buy him if we're not going to play him? But obviously, I feel like at first I do feel like he was only brought just to calm down the fans during the whole the defender thing. I think when we brought him, I think everyone was saying, oh, like he might be good, and obviously like we were even thinking of him and Phillips having like a good partnership. But obviously that didn't happen. But I do feel like I feel as if he was brought just to calm down the fans. But I do feel like the real reason why he was bought was because we could loan him out for a bit, build up his value, and then sell him for just a bit more that we bought him for. I think it's probably a business scheme or whatever you want to call it. But yeah, literally it's sad, obviously, because he's a player and obviously like he's got feelings. I don't know how it must feel knowing that you bought him and we're not going to play him. But yeah, man, it's what it is.
Why play the stock market when you can just buy and sell humans?
Yeah, that's literally what we're doing.
So that sounded a bit weird. But Davies, yes or no on the loan? Should we keep him around center back depth, Charlie?
Nah, I think as Samuel said there, he was brought in to calm the fans down. I, honest to God, think Klopp would have even went to Billy Cometio over him if we had more injuries. I don't think he was ever going to be playing for Liverpool. But it's profit at the end of the day, and as DJ said there, we signed him for 1.6 million. His loan fee alone is $1 million to Sheffield United. So we've got like 3/4 of that back. So it's
we're geniuses. We're so smart.
Yeah, no one really wants Ben Davies, if we're being honest, do we? Like he's
I do.
I think everybody agrees that maybe there's a couple of the YouTube boys, but that Nat Phillips, Reece Williams, and every other centre back we've got ahead of him, so that makes him like the 7th choice centre back. I know, obviously, Jack, you've seen him play for Preston United, and you rate him very highly.
Look, I think he is a bit bold. Since he's left-footed, he's my 5th choice center back for us. That's a bit controversial because he hasn't played much, but I would keep him over Nat Phillips. I think the issue is a lack of interest in Nat Phillips. But Jared, how do you rate my take on center backs? Where does Davies for you?
I mean, maybe as we all touched on here, maybe ownership saw an opportunity in terms of his value, and they saw the 1.5 million price tag, and obviously we needed some depth at center back last season. We were very desperate in the winter transfer window, so. And maybe it really was just like a win-win, right? If things got really, really dire, he could play for us potentially. But also now, look, we've already recouped 2/3 of the fee. So I personally love Nat Phillips. I think as like a backup rotation center back, especially if he was partnered with like a Van Dijk or even a Matip, he could really shine. He's a bit of a more traditional center back than maybe a Matip in terms of like he's just a destroyer. He's getting his head on every single ball that's in the air. So, I think, as you said at the beginning, Davies, I don't really have a strong opinion either way. I haven't seen him play enough, but, I think a loan deal is good for him. He'll get more minutes. He can prove himself, and maybe we get a nice fee for him down the road.
Samuel mentioned it. He's got feelings. Ben Davies has feelings too.
It's crazy because, like, I don't know if he must be happy or just because, but I feel like in a way he's moved from Preston. Sheffield United are a better team. It's a bit of a step up, obviously not as much as he was thinking, but he's kind of, I'm saying, and he's probably got a higher wage at Sheffield United they done at Preston. So it works both ways. I never seen him play. I think he played against that preseason game. I thought, and obviously he looked decent. I wouldn't say that he played bad, but obviously Klopp, the coaches, matches something that we don't. Obviously, they might think, he's definitely just not good enough. But yeah, he was a decent. You know what I'm saying, obviously, we're probably gonna make back more than what we played for. So at the end of the day,
he made his preseason debut at the same time as Konate, and no one talked about it. It was just Ibrahim Konate's here.
Sure.
I felt so bad, but so outgoing Shaqiri potentially this week. We're what, 2 weeks, just under
16 days, I think.
16 days. Man.
Wow.
So our predictions as we wrap up the stream today on will Liverpool sign a player? Yes or no? Over under half a signing. So either 0 signings or more than one or more. Charlie, how many times you make?
Do you know what? Yeah, I started off on the YouTube and I was like, I got asked that question. I was like 2. And then about 2 weeks later, I was asked again. I was like, 1, we're getting Jared Bowen. Honest to God, I don't think we're signing anyone. But I'm like convinced now. Like, it's just with all the contracts, like it seems like the club are just, unless they're gonna pull a madness. Like, I don't know. Honestly, it's just being reports that a few clubs are interested in Origi, but I don't know. Honestly, I'm saying none. I hope you get one.
Jared,
I hope you get a right winger.
Jared, over under half a signing.
Oh, I think over. I'm trusting my gut, my intuition here. I think there's going to be some left field signing, like a surprise player, maybe not of the stature of Jota. Obviously, he was a surprise. But we signed Konate before we qualified for Champions League, right? And then by qualifying for Champions League, we did raise however much money. So I think we'll do something. I think we have a really savvy ownership group that I do trust, despite obviously the flaws and the missteps they've taken. In terms of pure business and football, I do trust them.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm gonna say a surprise signing, at least one.
Samuel?
Yeah, I was saying as Charlie. At the start, I thought 4 signings, and then midway through, I was like, okay, 2. Then I thought maybe 1. Now I don't feel like we're getting anyone. I just feel like the way the media, I feel like from their side, they've just pushed out this rhetoric that, all right, cool, we're not signing one, but we're gonna extend these contracts. Be happy with this. So I don't. Right now, I'm gonna say none. I'm gonna say none, and I feel like the whole thing about maybe Keita staying fit, Ox staying fit, Harvey Elliott giving his chance. I just feel like the whole thing that's been pushed out by the club is we're happy with this. Even I think Klopp came out and said, he said how like there's no one else to sign. So I feel like right now, from what the energy that I'm getting from the club, I just feel like no one in. I think maybe if Origi leaves, I think maybe there, but I don't think that he's leaving. So that's that. But yeah.
I'm in agreement there. I'm going to say 1. Just I want to be able to make a transfer video for this channel, for the love of God. Last thing, I don't understand this, but Samuel, you have a question. What are your opinions on Faye? Do you know what this means?
Faye, I'm not the biggest fan. For anyone that watches Love Island, it's a show. It's a reality show about love and fan of love, and obviously, Faye's with this guy called Teddy, and obviously she's kind of
nice guy.
Pardon?
He's a dead nice guy.
Yeah.
yeah. Like, I know she's kind of already taken advances. So right now, I'm not really her biggest fan. I would vote her off the show if I could, but is what it is. But yeah, that's just a brief little
transfer room.
Honestly, we might have to pivot over to that. If we don't sign anyone. At this rate.
It's more action there than for us.
Yeah.
But thank you, boys, for entering today's stream. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Really good discussion. Hopefully, we will have a stream pretty soon where we're talking about a new signing. But at least we're talking about wins. 3-0 win against Norwich, heading into Burnley next weekend. So make sure to follow all of us with our Twitter ads here. Follow LFC Transfer on all social medias. And we'll see you in our next streamer.